Thanks, Wendy, for hopping on stage with me. So we're just going to go straight into the conversation. And guys, it's a conversation. It's not. So obviously, the first thing that I want to, talk about is kind of like your background as being like a woman in tech, or like a woman in the STEM field. How has that been? Like, how did you start that? Why did you do that? Yeah. And if you look from where you started to like where you are now, how has sort of like that journey been?
Yeah. So, thank you for having me again. And my journey is very interesting. People typically assume I grew up saying I wanted to work at NASA. And they assume that in the States too, like, oh, yeah, I'm sure NASA was always your dream. And that's not true. So from a young age, how many of us had parents who told us what we were going to be when we grew up? It should be everyone, right? So my mom is in the front row there, proud mama, taking pictures. Yeah, and they told me, she and my dad told me, you're going to be an engineer when you grow up. That was it.
You didn't have a choice.
I didn't have a choice, but they lucked out because I liked it, right? I liked math and physics, so I was like, okay, I'm going to be an engineer. That's fine. And then right before I started my bachelor's degree, I decided to do aerospace, but I didn't know what kind of engineering I wanted to do, right? Having Nigerian background, you would think petroleum engineering or chemical, and then I also had mechanical or aerospace in the back of my mind, because the university I chose to go to had an aerospace program. And that doesn't always happen, right? Aerospace isn't available at every university. So mechanical is similar to aerospace. You can always do mechanical and then do aerospace. So I chose that. I chose to do aerospace, and I fell in love with it, right? It's very fascinating. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
Right? You even look up when you see planes. So I did that for undergrad, did that for grad school. And in grad school, I have a PhD, and with a PhD, you do research. And research is basically answering questions that people haven't really answered, doing very, very novel things. And when you do that, you get really excited, and it's hard to go.
But was that interesting? Like, you sort of like see research, and I'm thinking like, that's too much work.
Oh my goodness, it was so interesting, because when something works, you jump off out of your seat. I'm going to just everyone, man, my code worked. Right. I got results, and the results don't look like rubbish. Right. So it's a very nice feeling. It's very rewarding when you chart the course of what it is that you do. And so because I did that, I wanted to be in a research environment, and I just applied to NASA. I took a break, though. I took a year and a half to travel and be a baby girl.
Why NASA?
So the center I applied to was a research center. So I actually had 3 job offers.
Wow.
Before I chose NASA, 3 separate job offers, but I knew I wanted a break. But in undergrad, when I was doing my bachelor's, I thought I was always going to work for an aerospace company that designs stuff for the government. Now, the government is the primary supplier for aerospace companies, and I thought I was going to do that because I had interned in some of those. So again, NASA wasn't like, oh, it's my dream to be at NASA, it's my dream to be an astronaut. I just really liked what I did, and then I thought I was going to work there. But then I went and got that PhD, and I was like, I can't work here. Like, I wasn't impressed, someone telling you to work on this small piece of this big thing. I'm like, let me do the big thing. So NASA does that. NASA is really, really cool. So I applied. So I took a pay cut. In comparison to the offers that I had, I took a pay cut to go to NASA, but I haven't looked back since. I really like what I do.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
A round of applause. That's pretty amazing. So I'm going to dial back just a little bit, right? You were the first Black woman to obtain a PhD in aerospace engineering from the University of Texas at Arlington. And there's several reasons why I find that inspiring, motivating, whatever it is. First, you're a woman. And this is not to like even diminish it in any way, but it's actually for me like amplified. You're a woman, you're a Black woman, you're a Niger Black woman. And so it's like,
tell them.
So it's like a lot of these levels. And it's like a lot of these ceilings that you've crashed. Right. How did that experience translate into like who you are now?
Yeah, so it's an interesting question because
I'm sorry, before you answer that, like the
Yeah.
first thing is, did you feel like, oh my God, I'm super amazing, I beg, I'm the first? Or you're just like, oh well, any other day I woke up, no biggie.
it's the latter. I didn't even think about it. I never set out to be the first. I didn't even know. I was just in class minding my business. I just wanted to get my good grades. I just wanted to get my A's. But in class, I was the only black girl in I think in almost all my classes. First, maybe there are like 3 women out of like 40 students, and there's 1 black girl. I'm not even saying 1 African girl or 1 Nigerian girl. There's 1 black girl, and it's me, in undergrad, in grad school. But I didn't notice it. I didn't really see. No, you stand out though. The thing is, you stand out. When you look differently, you stand out. People see you, so you stand out for good or for bad. You choose how you want to stand out, right? But also, like, I'm Nigerian, so I have respect, right? I'm not disrespectful to professors, like, you know what? But you have respect. You're relatively a respectful, decent person in class. So I maybe stood out for good, but I always had really, really good grades from when I was very young, because I'm one of those, I have to understand it. I have to know everything. If I don't know everything, then maybe I'm not smart, and I have to get it. So I was removed from the novelty. I promise you, I didn't think about being the first black anything. I didn't. I just faced my work and minded my business, and then it happened. And it's been a whirlwind ever since. And the Hidden Figures movie, Katherine Johnson, right, who was recently mind-blowing, very intelligent woman. They're carrying her everywhere, giving her all these awards and everything. And people always want to ask her, how did it feel? How did you do it? In times like that. Those were women whose shoulders I stood on. Like, they paved the way for me. They faced the discrimination and the racism to do what they could do. And they paved the way for me. So they asked her all the time, how did you feel? How did you feel? She's like, I don't know. I was just doing my job. Find you a man or a woman who is diligent in their job, and they will stand before kings or queens.
Or queens.
Or queens.
Wow. So let's, bring that to the topic of today, like gender gap. Does it exist? And I know, like, we talk about the gender gap. So 2 questions in one. Do you think it exists? And what is it?
Yeah, I think it does. We see it, right? So there's a gender gap in a lot of STEM, so science, technology, engineering, and mathematics fields. You see it quite a bit. You see it divided along race, you see it divided along gender. You see these disparities. So it definitely exists. It's visible, it's palpable. But it's also interesting, right? So if you think about, I don't know how it is now, what the climate is now, but if you think about the United States, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, there were a lot of women in these technical fields, right? So during that Hidden Figures era, there were a lot of women that were working in droves at NASA and places like that. But I don't know what happened in the 90s. I don't know what happened in the 90s. So it's a dip, and now we've been trying to go back up. But that slope is so shallow. So it definitely does exist. It's palpable, but hopefully we get back up there. But I would agree that it exists.
Okay. And just the thing that you said about hopefully we get back there, huge amen to that.
Amen.
I was reading up on like some of your interviews, and you spoke about the imposter syndrome.
Right.
And for me, the question was kind of like, do women particularly, because of this syndrome, does this prevent us from asking for what we're worth or what we deserve? So you want to ask for a pay raise or a promotion, or you even want to apply for a job. You know that joke about like, there's this advert and they're asking for someone who has 10 years experience. And a guy who has 2 years experience like rocks up, and I'm like, I want the job. And they're like, it's 10 years. And he's like, well, we'll make up the rest. He's But a woman who has like 8 years experience is like, well, I have 8 years experience, but, I'm not really sure, if you. So does the imposter syndrome stop us from asking? And I say us because like this is also something that I've dealt with. stop us from demanding, what we're worth or asking for what we truly deserve at work.
So it's not that you're dumb, right? Because I've seen there are a lot of articles online about me that I have not authored or contributed to. And then some of them say Dr. Wendy Okolo overcame the imposter syndrome where she was unsure of herself and didn't feel smart. That's not what it is. Imposter syndrome really is just the idea, like somehow in the back of your mind that you didn't get here based purely on merit and you're like such a bad, bleep. But luck and circumstances and fortune and good nature and you were good enough in one place and maybe someone saw you and at some point someone is going to ask you that question that you can't answer and you're going to look stupid in front of everyone. Is there anyone that feels like that? Exactly. All of us feel like that. All of us feel like that. Sometimes you get a new position, you get a new offer, they ask you to do something. We all feel like that. But for women, it's higher, right? We feel it even more strongly as women. And it definitely stops us from asking for more. So people like you and I that are here, we make a conscious effort to fight it, right? It's always there for everyone. I met this neuroscientist that was in Nature's Time magazine, that's a professor at Harvard and MIT in computer science. And she was supposed to speak with us, some women in aerospace, in 2014, my last year of my PhD, or like the year before the last. And she walked up there and she was like, this is a PhD professor from Harvard. Walked up there like, I didn't want to do this. I almost didn't come. I didn't want to do this. I feel like, what do I have to say to you guys? I didn't know. I didn't want to do this. But I was like, okay, fine, I'll just show up. She was wondering what she had to say to us. Someone I wanted to turn upside down and juice all the information in her head out. She was wondering. So everyone has it. And it stops us because we're not sure if we're good enough. We're not sure. We're waiting for more experience. We want more. We're like, okay, maybe in 2 years I'll have that information that will make me eligible for this thing I'm applying for. We keep waiting and waiting where men don't. Yeah. So we have to make a conscious effort to stop waiting and start getting.
Yeah. Thank you. So as we round up, just like final question, and you've sort of like touched on it in like what you said previously, but in what specific ways can there be parity? With like, how can we like bridge the gap, whether it's for, pay raises or promotions or even women entering into the fields of STEM?
Yeah.
What are the things, just 2-3 specific things that women and men, because they're allies,
I agree,
can do to like bridge the gap?
I agree, yeah. So first of all, we have to realize that the inclusion and wanting women in STEM is not a moral thing. It's not a good thing to do. Like, it's just, it's good. There are a lot of people, there might be people sitting in this room that are like, who cares if there are women in STEM? STEM is still happening. Tech is still happening. Why? What was the big deal? But it matters. If you're a CEO of a company, a founding member of a company, and you don't have diversity in the people that are creating the solutions, the processes for you, you're taking a hit, and you will be obsolete. I promise you, right? Who was it that was telling you when they designed seat belts back then? They designed seat belts, and women and children were still dying. Who knew that, right? Because they didn't have women making those solutions, right? They didn't have women on the table. So it's for your own good, right? But then two, so I'm saying this from the other side, right? Whoever is hiring, whoever is trying to make these changes, you have to realize it's for your own good to have diversity at that table. The second thing is, we women also have to be responsible for our own successes. If you do a good job at work, who has walked into their boss's office and asked for a promotion as a woman in this room? Yeah, exactly. And that's why she's here, right? That's why she's here. If you've done a good job with a project, walk into your boss's office and ask for that promotion. You might not get it, but you've put it in their head. So the next time there's an opportunity available for a promotion and they give it to someone else, they know you're going to squeeze your face for them. So put it in their head. Ask it, because people want to stand on your shoulders. You are the ones driving the change. You are the ones making the change for your daughters, for your nieces, and for us. And
for your sons too. Yes. Thank you so much, Wendy. This has been an absolutely amazing conversation. We'll continue it in camera. Thank you, guys. Thank you for having us. Thank you.